Some financial struggles are not the result of bad decisions, lack of effort, or weak faith. You've prayed, worked hard, stayed honest, and still felt stuck. What if the delays, denials, and closed doors were never your fault? What if unseen obstacles are now being removed by divine intervention, making room for sudden clarity, provision, and release? One of the most damaging beliefs people carry is the idea that every financial struggle must be the result of a personal failure. When money is tight, doors stay closed, or progress feels delayed, the first response is often self-blame. Thoughts arise like, if I had made better decisions, if I had more faith, if I worked harder. But this assumption is not always true. Not every financial obstacle comes from poor choices, laziness, or lack of wisdom. There are struggles that arrive without invitation. Some limitations are inherited, imposed, or created by circumstances far beyond personal control. Economic downturns, unstable systems, family responsibilities placed on you early in life, broken agreements, or unfair disruptions can create barriers that no amount of effort alone can immediately remove. These are not punishments. They are realities of living in a complex world where not everything operates on fairness. When people blame themselves for problems they did not create, they unknowingly carry guilt that was never meant to be theirs. This guilt becomes heavier than the financial burden itself. It drains energy, weakens confidence, and creates a cycle where people feel unworthy of improvement, even when opportunities appear. The truth is, responsibility and blame are not the same thing. You can take responsibility for moving forward without accepting blame for how the struggle began. Many individuals did everything right. They worked honestly. They remained patient. They avoided shortcuts. They stayed faithful in small things. Yet progress remained slow. This does not mean effort was wasted. It means the blockage was not caused by behavior, but by circumstance. And what you did not create, you are not required to fix alone. There is a difference between correction and removal. Correction applies when behavior needs adjustment. Removal applies when something foreign is obstructing movement. Financial blockages that were not self-inflicted require removal, not punishment. They require intervention, timing, and alignment rather than self-criticism. Sometimes people remain stuck because they are trying to repent for something that was never wrong in the first place. They overanalyze their actions, searching for hidden mistakes, when in reality the issue is external. This keeps them focused on the past instead of prepared for what's ahead. Release begins when self-condemnation ends. Understanding this truth restores dignity. It allows you to stand upright again instead of shrinking under invisible weight. When you recognize that the struggle did not originate in you, hope becomes rational again. Expectation returns. Faith strengthens, not because circumstances changed yet, but because perspective did. There are seasons when growth happens quietly beneath pressure. Financial stagnation does not mean inactivity. Sometimes stability is the miracle. Sometimes survival is the success. Not falling apart under prolonged strain is evidence of strength, not failure. The ability to endure without losing integrity prepares you for expansion without losing balance. When blockages you didn't create are finally removed, progress often feels sudden to outsiders. They see the breakthrough but not the years of endurance. They notice the open doors but not the closed ones that built character. What looks like overnight success is often delayed justice finally catching up. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not being punished. You are standing at the edge of a shift that was never dependent on perfection, only patience. When the right moment arrives, movement will come without strain. What was heavy will feel light again. What was slow will gain momentum. And you will realize that the struggle was never proof of failure. It was evidence of resistance that is now being removed. Not every obstacle is visible. Some of the most powerful blockages operate quietly, unnoticed, and unnamed. You can do everything right and still feel like something unseen is working against you. This can be frustrating because humans are wired to fix what they can see. When there is no clear explanation, doubt creeps in. People begin to question their worth, their effort, or their direction. Hidden blockages can take many forms. Some are systemic rules, structures, or limitations built into environments you didn't design. Others are emotional, beliefs formed during hardship that quietly restrict expectation. Some are relational, connections that drain more than they give. And some operate on timing, where movement is withheld until alignment is complete. The danger of hidden blockages is that people often fight the wrong battle. They try harder where patience is needed. They force doors meant to open later. They exhaust themselves attempting to overcome what was never meant to be confronted directly. This leads to burnout, confusion, and spiritual fatigue. Just because a blockage is hidden does not mean it is permanent. It simply means it is not meant to be solved by effort alone. Some barriers require exposure before removal. Others require waiting until surrounding conditions change. And some are lifted without announcement, without warning, and without explanation. Many breakthroughs begin with subtle internal shifts before any external change appears. Clarity replaces confusion. Peace replaces anxiety. Rest replaces panic. These are signs that unseen resistance is weakening. When internal pressure decreases, external movement often follows. People often underestimate how much unseen protection exists during seasons of delay. What felt like stagnation may have prevented greater loss. What felt like rejection may have preserved alignment. Hidden blockages sometimes act as shields until you are prepared to handle what comes next. There are doors that remain closed, not because you are unworthy, but because the environment behind them is not ready. Access without preparation can damage rather than bless. When hidden blockages lift, they often do so in layers, not all at once. First comes awareness, then comes opportunity, then comes flow. Trying to name every obstacle can actually slow progress. Some things are not revealed because knowing them would distract you. Peace often requires trust in processes you cannot trace. When resistance is removed at the right time, it leaves no emotional residue, only relief. What you cannot see is still under authority. Nothing hidden operates without limit. When the season shifts, unseen barriers lose influence naturally. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to identify them. You only need to stay positioned. Positioning matters more than pressure. Remaining consistent, faithful, and steady keeps you aligned for release. When hidden blockages fall, the path forward often feels obvious in hindsight. You look back and realize that struggle was not random, it was regulated. Soon, what felt stuck will begin to move. Answers will come without forcing them. Provision will appear without panic. Opportunities will align without manipulation. And you will understand that what you couldn't see was never working against you forever. It was only delaying you until the right moment arrived. One of the hardest lessons to accept during financial struggle is that waiting does not automatically mean rejection. When progress slows or opportunities seem postponed, the natural conclusion is that the answer must be no. But delay and denial are not the same. Delay speaks to timing. Denial speaks to cancellation. Many people misinterpret silence as refusal and give up moments before movement begins. Delay often feels personal because it touches daily needs, responsibilities, and expectations. Bills do not wait. Obligations do not pause. Dreams do not stop calling. Yet delay does not indicate disinterest or abandonment. It indicates preparation. There are seasons where progress happens beneath the surface, unseen but intentional. Some financial breakthroughs require alignment rather than effort. Alignment of mindset, skill, relationships, opportunity, and timing must converge. If one element arrives too early, it can collapse the entire outcome. Delay protects the future result from premature exposure. Many people would not recognize the breakthrough if it came too soon. The weight of increase requires structure. Without emotional maturity, discipline, and clarity, sudden provision can create chaos instead of relief. Delay allows character to develop alongside capacity. Waiting seasons are often misjudged because nothing visible seems to change. But invisible work continues, wisdom deepens, patience strengthens, discernment sharpens. What feels like inactivity is often refinement. The absence of movement does not equal the absence of progress. Delay also tests motive. It reveals whether the desire is rooted in desperation or readiness. Rushed outcomes often satisfy urgency but fail longevity. Delayed outcomes tend to endure because they arrive when foundations are stable. Many financial testimonies are misunderstood because people only see the breakthrough moment. They do not see the years of waiting that positioned everything perfectly. Delay is often the evidence that something valuable is being guarded. There are doors that open once and never again. If opened too early, they would close just as quickly. Delay ensures that when access comes, it remains. It is important not to internalize delay as personal failure. Self-criticism during waiting seasons creates discouragement that weakens endurance. The waiting period is not a sign to quit, it is a sign to stay steady. When delay ends, movement often accelerates. What took years to wait for can manifest quickly once timing aligns. Preparation turns waiting into momentum. When the blockage lifts, progress feels sudden because groundwork was already laid. Delay refines vision. It teaches you what truly matters and what can be released. When the breakthrough comes, it often looks different, but better than what was originally imagined. You are not being ignored. You are being positioned. What is delayed is not denied. It is reserved for the right moment, the right capacity, and the right alignment. Not every breakthrough arrives with clarity. Some changes happen suddenly, quietly, and without a clear reason. One day the pressure lifts. The door opens. The opportunity appears. And there is no logical trail to explain how it happened. Restoration does not always announce itself. Many people expect resolution to come with understanding. They want to know why things were blocked, who caused the delay, and what shifted. But restoration often bypasses explanation. The goal is not to satisfy curiosity, it is to restore flow. When restoration comes, it does not always revisit the past. It moves forward without reopening old wounds. Explanation would sometimes require reliving pain that no longer has authority. Release is more important than reasoning. Some financial reversals happen so smoothly that they seem accidental. A connection appears at the right time. A burden lifts unexpectedly. An obligation dissolves. These moments are not random, they are orchestrated, but they are not meant to be dissected. Requiring explanation before accepting restoration can become a form of resistance. It keeps people mentally tied to what went wrong instead of anchored to what is now right. Healing does not need a full report. Restoration often brings peace before provision. Calm replaces anxiety. Confidence replaces fear. This inner shift prepares you to receive without sabotage. Without inner restoration, outer provision can feel overwhelming rather than empowering. When restoration happens without explanation, it teaches trust. It shows that control is not required for progress. You do not need to understand every step to walk forward. Some answers come later. Others never come at all, and that is okay. The absence of explanation does not diminish the reality of restoration. What matters is movement, not memory. Trying to trace every change can pull you backward. Forward motion requires release of analysis. When things begin to work again, embrace the flow instead of questioning it. Restoration does not always replace what was lost. It often brings something better suited. What returns may look different, function differently, and require a different mindset. This is not loss, it is upgrade. When restoration arrives quietly, gratitude must replace interrogation. Peace must replace suspicion. Joy must replace fear of reversal. Trust stabilizes what explanation cannot. There are moments when life shifts so gently that only you notice. You breathe easier. You sleep better. You plan again. These are signs that restoration has already begun. The lack of explanation does not mean lack of purpose. It means the chapter is closed. What mattered was not why it happened, but that it ended. You are allowed to move forward without understanding everything behind you. Restoration is permission to stop carrying what no longer applies. When the flow returns, step into it without hesitation. What was blocked is now open. What was heavy is now light. And you don't need a reason to receive relief. There are seasons when financial pressure feels unfair, as though the weight you are carrying did not originate with you. Many people find themselves burdened by decisions they did not make, responsibilities they did not choose, or consequences they did not cause. This can create a deep sense of injustice, especially when effort and integrity have been consistent. But there comes a moment when that cycle ends. Sometimes financial strain is connected to generational patterns, broken systems, or agreements formed long before you had any voice. Family expectations, inherited debt, disrupted partnerships, or unstable environments can quietly dictate financial reality for years. These influences are powerful, but they are not permanent. Carrying someone else's mistake often produces silent exhaustion. You work harder just to stay even. Progress feels delayed because energy is spent managing fallout rather than building forward. This kind of strain is especially draining because it does not respond easily to personal improvement alone. There is a difference between responsibility and ownership. You may have been responsible for managing the aftermath, but you were never meant to own the original error. Owning it keeps you tied to a past that does not define your future. Release begins when that distinction becomes clear. Many people remain stuck because they believe suffering is required to balance the scales. They think endurance must be endless to prove worthiness. But endurance has a purpose, not a lifetime assignment. Once its purpose is fulfilled, the burden lifts. There comes a season when repayment ends, not because everything is perfect, but because justice intervenes. That season arrives when the lesson is complete, the strength is built, and the character is established. At that point, continuing to pay for what you did not cause serves no purpose. This shift often happens quietly. One responsibility is removed. One pressure eases. One opportunity changes the trajectory. The relief may seem small at first, but it signals a larger release. What once consumed your resources begins to lose its grip. Breaking free from inherited struggle does not dishonor the past. It honors growth. It proves that patterns can end without bitterness. Progress does not require blame, it requires release. You may notice that guilt fades. Fear loosens. Hope returns without effort. These are signs that the cycle is breaking. When you are no longer paying for someone else's mistake, your energy returns to building rather than surviving. This is not about erasing history. It is about ending its authority. The past may explain where you came from, but it does not decide where you go. As this burden lifts, Financial clarity increases. Decisions become easier. Vision expands. Resources begin to flow with less resistance. What once felt like constant repair becomes purposeful construction. You are not obligated to remain in repayment mode forever. The season of compensating for what you did not create is ending. You are stepping into a phase where effort finally produces forward movement instead of constant recovery. Before external change appears, internal peace often arrives first. This calm does not come from resolved circumstances, but from shifted pressure. The anxiety that once followed every financial thought begins to quiet. The panic eases. The constant mental noise slows. This peace is not accidental. It is a signal. When pressure lifts internally, it indicates that resistance has already weakened. Fear is often the last line of defense before change. When fear loses its grip, movement is close. Peace during uncertainty feels strange at first. You may wonder why you feel calm when nothing has visibly changed. But this calm is preparation. It stabilizes you for what comes next. Without peace, increase can feel overwhelming rather than empowering. Many people miss this sign because they expect peace to follow provision. But often, peace precedes it. Calmness creates space for clarity. Clarity attracts opportunity. Opportunity brings movement. When peace arrives, it often brings discernment with it. You begin to see which options to pursue and which to release. Confusion fades. Urgency softens. Decisions become deliberate rather than reactive. This peace also protects against self-sabotage. Without it, people rush, overextend, or compromise out of fear. With peace, patience returns. Timing becomes easier to trust. Peace does not mean passivity. It means alignment. You are still active, but no longer anxious. Effort continues, but without strain. This is the state where sustainable progress is made. As peace settles, you may notice that certain pressures simply stop triggering you. Conversations that once caused stress lose their power. Numbers that once scared you no longer define you. This emotional shift indicates that authority has changed. Peace also marks the end of survival mode. When survival ends, creativity begins. New ideas surface. New solutions appear. New pathways open. Survival narrows vision. Peace expands it. Often, peace shows up right before a shift because you no longer need to fight. The battle has already turned. What remains is transition, not struggle. This calm is not denial. It is confidence without explanation. It allows you to wait without tension and move without fear. When peace becomes consistent, it signals readiness. You are prepared to receive without panic, to manage without fear, and to grow without losing balance. Pay attention to this peace. Protect it. It is not a distraction, it is direction. It is the quiet confirmation that release is near, that pressure is lifting, and that what once felt blocked is already beginning to open. Life often operates in cycles of closure and opening. When one door closes, it may feel like loss, rejection, or failure. But in truth, every closed door is a precursor to a new one. Old barriers are never removed merely for relief. They are removed to create space for greater opportunity. Understanding this principle changes the way delays and blockages are perceived. Financial blockages that have held you back are not just obstacles. They are placeholders. They occupy space, energy, and attention, waiting to be cleared before something better can take their place. When these blockages fall, the emptiness they leave is not a void but a canvas. The universe, or the divine timing behind progress, is preparing to fill it with what is suitable, aligned, and sustainable. It is natural to feel fear when doors close. Fear convinces people that closure is final, that opportunity has vanished. But the reality is different. When resistance is removed, a new door often opens in a place you never expected. These new doors can appear as opportunities, ideas, connections, or even internal shifts. They may not look like what you imagined, but they are designed to exceed previous limitations. New doors also come with lessons that old doors never taught. Old barriers often protected you from unprepared growth or misaligned pathways. When they are gone, the lessons they contained are transferred to wisdom. You move forward not just free, but informed. Experience becomes the lens through which you recognize what is valuable and what is not. Many people fail to recognize new doors because they focus too heavily on what was lost. Nostalgia, regret, and comparison obscure vision. True progress requires turning attention from the past toward what is now possible. When attention shifts, new opportunities are not only visible, they become irresistible. Opening new doors requires readiness. It demands willingness to step into uncertainty. It may require leaving comfort, habits, or old expectations behind. But the effort is always worth it, because the space cleared by removal was never meant to remain empty. It was meant for growth. These transitions are often gradual. At first, the new door may seem like a whisper, an idea, a chance encounter, or a subtle shift in resources. But as alignment strengthens, the door widens, inviting full movement. Progress that once felt impossible becomes natural. What was once blocked now becomes accessible, almost effortless. Understanding this truth prevents frustration. When you recognize that closure is preparation rather than punishment, patience becomes easier. You no longer resist what ends. You anticipate what begins. This mindset creates an environment in which new doors are not only seen, they are walked through confidently. Ultimately, new doors are a reflection of readiness. They do not appear randomly, they arrive when capacity matches opportunity. Old barriers fall not because you deserve relief, but because you are prepared to move forward without repeating previous mistakes. What comes next is both reward and responsibility, a chance to build on a foundation finally cleared of obstruction. Once blockages are removed, momentum often accelerates faster than expected. What took years to stall can take weeks, days, or even moments to advance. Movement that once felt impossible becomes inevitable. Understanding this principle can transform patience into anticipation, struggle into expectation. For too long, stagnation may have dominated. Effort may have felt like pushing against cement walls. Opportunities seemed elusive, and progress frustratingly slow. But once the root obstruction is lifted, friction disappears. The flow of resources, ideas, and connections increases naturally. Movement that was previously hindered is no longer restricted. This acceleration is a natural consequence of removal. When the obstacles blocking energy, focus, and opportunity are cleared, the path becomes unobstructed. Like a river once dammed, the force that was contained is released, spreading quickly and powerfully. Momentum compounds because nothing resists it. Rapid movement can be disorienting if you are accustomed to delay. What once required months or years may now require days. What once felt like struggle now feels like ease. The speed itself is a sign that the right alignment has occurred. It is confirmation that the preparation, patience, and endurance were necessary, and that the season of waiting is ending. This quick movement is also strategic. Often, the speed at which progress begins ensures that the energy built during waiting is not wasted. The lessons learned, skills honed, and resilience developed now function at full capacity. You are not only moving, you are moving with power, wisdom, and purpose. It is crucial to recognize that rapid progress requires focus. Momentum can be wasted if energy is misdirected or if hesitation creeps in. Those who embrace new opportunities decisively benefit most, while those who doubt or overanalyze may find themselves missing key openings. Action aligned with readiness produces the best results. What is remarkable about this phase is how naturally growth feels. The strain of forcing doors, chasing results, or trying to overcome resistance diminishes. Effort becomes strategic rather than desperate. Flow replaces friction. This is a season where consistency compounds, and even small actions yield disproportionate results. The speed of change often surprises not only you but others. External observers may see your progress as sudden or unearned. They may not see the years of preparation, waiting, and internal development that made rapid movement possible. But understanding the pattern allows you to navigate with confidence, rather than being startled by the acceleration. Rapid movement also tests adaptability. What was stuck moves quickly, requiring discernment in choices and flexibility in execution. The ability to adjust, prioritize, and maintain focus determines how effectively momentum translates into sustainable success. Finally, the experience of rapid movement reinforces faith and resilience. Once blockages fall, there is no need to push against walls that no longer exist. The speed of progress becomes evidence of divine timing or universal alignment. It confirms that the struggle was not in vain, the waiting was purposeful, and the effort now yields exponential results.